All right. All right. Welcome back to the Inner Storyteller. Ah, happy Saturday. I really like doing this. I really enjoy doing this, sharing what's been, shared with me via nature or via ideas. And I really try to make it here on time. Today, I'm a little early. Do a little dance because I'm a little early. Do a little dance because I'm a little early. Give you something to think about. That's really nice. Um, couldn't think of a rhyme. But, you know, I found out as I was preparing to do this episode that there are people out there who like to watch but don't like to like. You people, you make me stop and think. And sometimes you make me stop and think so hard that I don't do an episode yesterday because I was stopping and thinking so hard. So please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channels. Welcome back to your real life. If you are here, then you know you are in for real conversations. We talk about everything here. Good people. We talk about religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We talk about natural law. We talk about money, anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated from the shadows by people that do not have our best interests at heart. Perhaps because they're all completely evil. I don't know. But we are not bashing faith systems here. We are simply examining psychological causes and effects of the stories that we have the most faith in. And that examination has to sit right alongside an honest look at the current human condition, which is indeed slavery. Government is slavery. And the question that matters most on this channel is what can actually be improved with a proper understanding of one's inner storyteller and how it works. And if any of that makes you a little uneasy in some way, makes you uncomfortable, angry, even, just know that you are welcome to stay, but you are also welcome to leave at any time, so long as you like the video. Okay? If you don't like the video, then actually you're not welcome to leave. You have to stay for the whole thing. That's the price of not liking the video. It does, you signed the contract, so it's in the fine print. Today's episode, The Religion of Monetary Value, Part 7. We are not slowing down, good people. We are diving headfirst into all of the information regarding the religion of monetary value, and for good and great reason. I'm breaking down the count them, five, core false beliefs of the religion of monetary value, which you could also call the 5 false core beliefs of the religion of monetary value. The belief structure that maintains the mind control and keeps the manifested in reality system of oppression and control intact. Now, many people don't really realize that they hold these core false five core false beliefs. There we go. Until you're in a conversation with them and you say, or they hear, remember, money does not exist. It's not real anyway. Monetary value is something that a very few makes the rest of us adhere to. Right? 1 second. I think it's just my cell phone telling me that I'm live. No, I did get a text message. And it is from my mom, my grandmama. All right. Um when they're in a conversation and they are brought face to face with the reality, or should I say the non-reality, the unreality of money and the notion of monetary value, then they realize and even articulate these exact 5 core false beliefs. And monetary value is something that a very few make the rest of us adhere to like it's a religion. And if we want to move forward toward real human freedom, freedom for humanity, not just you and your family, then money and government would probably, most likely, have to be done away with as the games that they are. As soon as you say that, people are like, well, without government, without money, how do you allocate resources? How does everybody get fed, clothed? Where do we get our PlayStation from? What about the cell phone? Cell phones. Like what happens when my cell phone plan runs out? Right? We're going to explore the 5 core false beliefs that make people jump to those questions. But before examining any of them, we have something else to talk about entirely. Sorry, I just had to read another message. This one popped up on my laptop screen. I'm getting unlucky with being popular. I'm not popular. um, so, like I said, we're going to explore those beliefs, and we have to talk about something beforehand. Um, and the assertion that money is not real and money is at the root of all major human family issues has to be like, is that true or not? That has to be examined for its veracity. Is it true? Because if it is true, which it is, in my opinion, that would imply that it's our responsibility to put down the game, right? When you start talking to somebody who's interested in human freedom about money not existing, who is not initiated into this level of knowledge, you could say, all the time, the knee jerk reaction, no matter how long they've been fighting for freedom, is in relation to these beliefs. And what I'm saying by saying that is these beliefs are what's holding the game in place. And the reason why this episode is going to be so it is so important in my opinion is because this is it's like it's I'm going to outline the central pillars holding the game up. The money game, the government game, the monarchy game, the oligarchy game, the fascist game, dictator game, um, communist regime, the control apparatus game, all of the I have a right to rule over you games get exposed for what they are when these 5 beliefs are acknowledged out loud and dealt with, okay, done away with, up replaced with beliefs that are more closely aligned with truth. Um, so let me pull up today's, as I always do, thumbnail, as it is quite important to have somewhat of a visual. As you can see, this is part 7 to the religion of monetary value. Back in part 3 of this series, which is the foundational episode you should send everybody in the world. Part 3 of the religion of monetary value series, I laid out the basic sequence. What the origin of these things are, right? The religion of monetary value is as in my work, is the mother of all religions. The religion of man's authority, which is the belief that government or monarchy or any form of armed enforcement and rulership has ever been legitimate. That belief is the father of all other religions. Please go and watch part 3 and share it. Share it to everybody. Okay? That video is very important for humanity, or for the members of humanity that are interested in human freedom for all, in my opinion. And it lays out the game, as I call it, in a way that I don't think people are saying in their videos and in their books. I think I gave some pretty good excerpts in that video that make the rest of what we're going to talk about today and just what we discuss in this series in general a lot more clear. Okay, and today is foundational for a whole nother reason. Hold on, let me check the comments, make sure. What up, Nick? What's going on? Put the shroom up there. Today we are talking the religion of monetary value, part 7. And I was just explaining a little bit about what I said in part 3, and asking y'all to just go watch part 3. Don't stop watching this video right now if you're here live, but obviously go watch that right after and share that thing to everybody. Because I'm not just laying out a solution for financial freedom. That is not important in human freedom. Okay? Because the financial world does not really move anything. Okay? The only thing that moves in the financial world is digits from one ledger to another, right? Accounting. That's the only thing that moves. Of that has reality to it. And I showed you in part 3. I didn't just tell you. I showed you that this isn't merely philosophical position, right? This is documented historical. There's a documented historical sequence going back at least about 5,000 years to the ancient clay tablets in Sumer, the civilization that birthed almost everything that we consider modern, right? Ancient Sumer had the first writing, agriculture, bookkeeping, accounting, banking, mystery schools, education, animal husbandry, right? And, for the record, that's general consensus. That's not agreed outright publicly by all anthropologists that have ever existed, but that is general consensus, okay? And even as far back as ancient Sumer, there were the games. There was taxation. There was all of that, all of the whole game. There was bills of lading, bills of exchange, debt and credit, right? Before barter systems that we know of in history, just the same thing. And I laid it out in part 3. So definitely go watch that video. Let's get into today's content, though, good people. Go ahead and smash that like button, please. Consider subscribing to the page. And, if you have a notebook and you have a pen and you have the time, I would take some notes with this one here, because I ain't come to play with y'all. I ain't come to play with y'all today. I can make myself a little bit bigger here too. I think this one. No, which one shows there we go. As you can see, what I want to do today is go underneath the sequence of events, how things laid out in history, and I want to look at the root of the issues, which is always belief. Because, first of all, a religion doesn't run on history alone, right? What up, Sarah? Oh, please stay for the whole thing if you have the time. If you do have the time. Also, please like the video. A religion does not run on history alone. Okay? It runs on, belief. It runs on convictions. It runs on ideas and posture, faith, strong opinions, and faith in those things. Right? I have to work soon. Oh, so gay. Call off. No. This is more important. Yes, yes. Debt: The First 5,000 Years by David Graeber. I would say his name wrong. Graeber. Is what I'm referencing here, and I'd name him in part 3. Go watch that video when you can. But boom. You take these, and let me put that on the screen for everybody so they can look it up. I believe you can find PDF for free if you look hard enough. You take these 5 beliefs out of the human family, and the entire money game falls apart. You take these 5 beliefs out of the human psyche, you can erase everything about the financial systems worldwide without necessarily damaging things like opportunities, food, housing, inventions that are already in play, technologies that are already in play, and or freedom for the civilians of the world. Though it may not be all peaches and pies for who were previously the elite right before this great change happened. They will probably be dealt with handily. But the regular people like us, yeah, no, that would probably be pretty dope-alicious. Now, here's the premise of this entire discussion. Before we get into any of the beliefs, let me actually take them off the screen for a second too, and just be me. Before we get to any of the core beliefs that we're going to tackle in this video, there's something that has to be acknowledged first. Okay, this is the ground that everything sits on. Humanity suffers greatly, traumatically, and tragically, and not randomly, right? Humanity suffers, and not without cause, not without our responsibility, our karma. And humanity suffers this greatly and tragically as a direct result of humanity's choices to align with false beliefs. Our repeated choices to align with false beliefs, sometimes to make whole identities out of false beliefs. And this is the reason why human beings greatly suffer, the greatest reason. Okay? If we did not do that, the belief part, the actions would reflect the, a belief system that's closer aligned with truth and natural law. And that acknowledgement leads to a second acknowledgement, which is if false beliefs held at scale are producing suffering at scale, preventable suffering, by the way, then real change in our behavior, the kind that's measured in generations and not just news cycles, that change has to come through worldview. Not just tweaks in policy, not just picking better leadership for the leadership and better cops for the cops and better military people with dog tags for the dog tags. Not just a better governor, right? It has the worldview itself has to be done away with, and en masse. Okay, it can't just be a few people who already agree with each other doing away with the worldview producing or supporting these beliefs. If we want the suffering to go away, that is. I mean, we are free to continue suffering and to continue getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and to see more and more and more, Americans starving right outside of fast food joints who are serving food all day, and that's all they do. Um, with drugs in their arm, a lot of times, which is a statement about money, not about the sort of victims of the money game here that I'm talking about. I'm not victim blaming. I'm talking about it's ironic that they are dying outside of the fast food spot for lack of food with drugs in their arm. that costs money. It's an ironic thing. Anyway, if you don't agree with me here, then this is where the conversation would have to start. But if we do agree, even on a basic level, that people in general are required, not just should, but required to align closer to objective truth in order to achieve the real behavioral change that we want to see, then we agree and we can go ahead and move into these 5 core beliefs. Let me know in the chat how y'all feeling out there. Boom. So I think I can, let me try. What this one look like? No, that's way too small. Okay. The 5 core beliefs of the religion of monetary value. The first one, number 1. When someone gives you an apple, you owe them an orange. Okay. Number 2, monetary value exists in nature. It actually exists. Monetary value. Okay, not money. Obviously, digital forms of money exist, paper forms of money exist. They represent units of monetary value, right? You got a brick of gold, it's got the symbols on it. That symbol represents a certain amount of units. You got something that says $1 or $1,000, 1,000 pesos, something like that. That represents that many units of the monetary value in that government's system. Money does exist, but monetary value does not. Okay. So we're going to tackle that belief. Monetary value exists. Number 3, value can be disconnected from the present moment. And if that comes off as a little confusing, that's okay. Once I dive into it, you're going to be like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Trust me, it's going to happen. Also, number 4, authority over use of force is necessary for human flourishing. Okay. The enforcement arms of these corporations, the enforcement arms of these rule makers, I'll say, are necessary for human flourishing. Okay. And lastly, number 5, this belief is also, they're all just as important as the rest of them, although number 1 is the central pillar for all the rest of them. The rest, 2 through 5 are kind of consequential to the reciprocity belief at the beginning. But number 5 is what the freedom seeker lands on once they pass a certain level of, I guess, philosophy. Past a certain level sounds very arrogant. I don't mean it like that. I just mean once they get a certain amount and things start clicking, you hear this belief come out of a lot of freedom seekers who are trying to tackle the question of, money and the love of money being the root of all evil, if they're a Christian or whatever, or if they just believe that because they can look around and see the coincidences when it comes to large amounts of money being at the centerpiece of pretty much every large death or large scam event. Regardless, what you hear them say is, well, the free market, real capitalism, or without even an ism, the free market is the solution. But the bad actors keep messing things up. It's the bad apple that makes the whole thing look rotten. But really, if we just dealt with that bad apple fast enough, there's so many good X and whatnot, which we already covered in a previous video. There's no such thing as a good cop. No, there isn't, because all of them sign up to enforce all of the laws, and a good portion of the laws are unjust, unnecessary, and assume that there was consent given to perform on a contract when there was no consent. So no, there's no such thing as a bad cop, unless they change the agreement and they say, well, I'll only enforce the good laws, and I'll tell my boss no when he tries to tell me to enforce a bad law, an immoral law. Once that changes, then there might be a good cop out there. Maybe one. Anyway, Belief numero uno. Let me put up my little slide. I got slides for y'all today, man. Let me make it bigger. I know I look. There we go. When someone gives you an apple, you now owe them an orange. This is called reciprocity. Okay. Now, this is the root. Every other false core belief on this list stands on top of this one here, which is exactly why it's the hardest belief to actually shake from one's psyche and to recognize when you're thinking along these lines and to choose not to act on it. The logic that I'm about to present here should not be hard to understand, right? But it is hard to really put that understanding into practice, um, especially at its extreme. Or, I'm not advocating for extreme behavior. I'm just saying in general. The Coinage Act. Yes, look up the Coinage Act. Let me put this comment on the screen real quick. Sarah Cross. Sarah Cross is here every Wednesday, y'all. We do Wednesday tea with Sarah Cross. Y'all make sure y'all give her page some love. She says, you should look up the Coinage Act. This removed actual gold and silver out of what we use for money. The last year, about we had silver in any coins was about 1964, right? And transitioned us into a full debt system. Well, unfortunately, um, even using gold and silver or any type of precious metal, any type of natural resource, and attributing monetary value to those things and naming a price to the weight of those things, or a price as far as what this amount can get you of this, or this amount can get you in front of these people, or this amount can get you to a better lifestyle of some kind. Soon as then, it's all a debt system. It's all a debt system, and this first core belief is why it's all debt. Reciprocity, which is a good thing in nature, but the way that we use reciprocity, or the way that we have been trained to see reciprocity, is not a good thing, and is the reason why it's all a debt system and it's all bullshit. So check this out. I think, and I'm gonna try to get through this slide real fast because you said you got to go soon. So it feels like the most obvious true thing in the world that you have to practice reciprocity. But reciprocity is not a law of nature. Think of a seed. Give it water, give it sunlight, give it time, and it grows into a tree. And you may find that relationship where you have a seed and you choose to put it in some soil, and you choose to give to this seed. You put it in the right spot, you look after it, maybe you talk to it, which is a great habit if you're trying to grow your own food or whatever. Talk, speak love into your things here. And you will see that the fruit that it produces, or the herb that it produces, or the company, I guess, if you just like the sight of the tree that it produces, feels reciprocal. But actually, it's very simple cause and effect as far as what actually is taking place. There's nothing wrong with having the story that that's reciprocal, but the truth is the truth. It's not. It's cause and effect. Because now is the only thing that exists. And there are droughts. Nature does not play this reciprocity and does not do exchange for exchange acknowledgement. Nature never acknowledges exchange for exchange, or acknowledges reciprocity in any way, or requires it. Pardon me. Reciprocity is not what we think it is. Okay, it's a story. It's a story about an event layered on top of the actual experience of that event after the fact. Kindness happens in the now. Okay? The present moment. And it is complete in itself. kindness, an act of any kind, an act of anger. But kindness, when you share something, when you give something, when you give back, whatever, that happens and it is complete in and of itself before the story of owing or debt is introduced. If someone gives you an apple, then by golly, they gave you an apple. Be grateful. Right? And if they request an orange and you have one or have access to one and you give that orange, then by golly, you gave them an orange and they requested that you do so. What's true is they gave you an apple, you gave them an orange. But the story is they gave you an apple, so you gave them an orange because that's the right thing to do. Which, again, not advocating to not think along these lines. I'm advocating for not putting this same logic into economic thought, which all economic thought is based on this currently. So it has to be a completely new thing that's never been a thing before for that to be the case. The story that's usually told is they gave you an apple, so you gave them an orange, with the implication that you owed them the response. That nature was going to do something because you're violating a law of nature if you didn't give back. That implication is false. The second that we attach a quote, and therefore something is owed back to an act of giving, then you've left the actual event behind and you've entered into a narrative, a story. Your inner storyteller is fully activated. You've let the inner storyteller write a debt into something that was in its raw form just a movement of kindness or something like that between two people. And this isn't only a natural law claim, by the way, right? We spent real time in part 3, part 6 with David Graeber's research, the anthropological record, backing this up from a completely different direction, right? Graeber's work dismantled the first there was barter, then there was money to fix the problem with barter systems, to fix those problems. That's why debt systems were created. And again, whether they were using rare materials, common materials, didn't matter. As soon as you attach fictional value to it and price it and stagnate the value and everything like that, you're creating a system that's based on this principle, this reciprocal principle, which means debt, which means in any act of giving and sharing creates a debt in practice. Okay, that's what it is in practice. Every time, all the time, that doesn't change. And we'll get into why in future beliefs on the same video. So, where am I in my notes? Graeber's work dismantled the barter first, then money myth that economics textbooks often teach. I know that's what I was taught, for sure, right? First there was barter, then money came in. But no, economies did not start with barter. They started with credit and debt. The same fiat craziness that we deal with today. IOU. There are Sumerian clay tablets that are IOU notes. Promises to pay. Unconditional promises to pay, as we would call them in our system today. What the evidence actually shows is that debt and credit appeared before money, and money appeared before barter, not the other way around. So the two completely different pathways, mine super philosophical, Graeber's anthropological, arrive at the same destination, right? Owing someone is not innate, it's not natural, it's an installed belief. And again, if you want the further breakdown on that, go to part 3 and share it. Please share part 3. Belief number 2, and this speaks directly to the issue with where when you have these conversations, people like to say that, well, if you tie the money system to rare items that have value because of their rareness and their beauty, then it works better, because when it's running out, then you have to adjust, or something like that. I don't really know what the because is, but a lot of people, I mean, I've been on the this train of thought for a few years now, and I have these conversations often, whether I'm just meeting somebody who sat next to me and my wife at the bar somewhere, or I'm speaking with a friend at an event, or I'm on social media and comment sections and getting DMs and whatnot. People have a real issue with actually kind of getting through their head, so to speak, all due respect, the fact that monetary value does not exist. Let's get into it. Artificial scarcity is not aligned with natural law. Exactly. This is an abundant place. This is a place of immense abundance. Anyway, so this one also feels obviously true to most people. On its face, this feels obviously true that monetary value exists. Oh, I didn't change the slide yet. My bad. Here you go. Should I say that again? This one also feels obvious. No, I'm kidding. Whenever I have this conversation, and I recently had this conversation with John Bush, who said he wants to come on the show and discuss this topic with me, because he right now, um, he's like, well, I like money as a concept. I think it's a good way to do human progress, or what have you. Which, fine, that's your prerogative. So I was talking with him. We had a nice little chat, but then his food got to him, and he said, my son is calling my phone, telling me to bring this food to him, so I got to go. But part of what anybody usually wants to say is, well, I know that already, right? While another part of them says, well, it's real, but it's just not tangible. And another part wants to say, well, our agreement makes it real. It makes it legitimate. And another part wants to say, oh, you're one of those, right? And the fact remains, nobody can put or give reality to monetary value in conversation, because it doesn't exist. No matter how much the mind resists seeing that fact for a fact that they then have to build their next, sentences off of, it's still a fact. Now, you can give reality to money, to the symbol that represents this fiction called monetary value, but you cannot, and again, coinage, bullion, bricks of silver and gold, paper money, treasury securities, right? Contracts that have value on their face, all of the digital forms, from DeFi to regular, to future central bank digital currency, like all forms. That, yeah, obviously we did create, invent, if you will, money, and we have for thousands of years kept creating money and money systems. So money is real. I'm not saying money's not real. The fiction is the monetary value. And once the belief that reciprocity is required by nature is accepted, belief number 2 follows almost automatically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's no monetary value in a rare item either. There's nothing monetary about the value, and value for an individual fluctuates way faster than any market can fluctuate, because value for a living being depends 1000% on the present moment. but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I kind of I gotta keep my eyes off of the comments a little bit, but I am so enjoying that you guys are engaging with me. Back to the topic, so I don't confuse anybody who watches the replay. Once belief number one is accepted, belief number two follows almost naturally. But monetary value isn't a feature of reality the way that magnetism, gravity, or mass are. It's just a shared story, a collective agreement drawn up by a very select, very manipulative few that only works because enough people are running the same false story at the same time in a given space. Nothing about that value exists independently of the belief that it does. If you take the belief that monetary value exists, that is an actual legitimate category of value in nature, you take that belief away, then the symbols on the paper, the symbols on the screen do not mean anything anymore. And the fact remains that they never meant anything in the first place in reality. Monetary value being unreal is a very simple thing, again, to grasp logically, in my opinion, but it's not simple or easy for most people engaging in conversation regarding this thing to really get, because the mind just has so many tricks. It just plays so many tricks to protect its belief system, its current belief system. But fear not, worry not, because monetary value being unreal isn't really the most practically important belief to tackle today, right? It's really just an on and off switch. Belief number three is the belief that keeps you from flipping that switch off. This is the meat and potatoes of this discussion here. Let me look at these comments real quick. Nick's back with some stuff, and you can have asset-backed digital currencies, currency, flow of value, C. That's what I meant by real value. Cool. Okay. So I'm not ignoring anything. So boom. Belief number three is value can be disconnected from the present moment. Let's really sit with this one for a second. This is doing a lot of the load bearing alongside the reciprocity belief. The when somebody gives you an apple, you owe them an orange is the central pillar. Okay, that it's the hardest one to shake. It's the hardest one in my, I guess, assessment from having conversations over the years to really get the first time that you encounter it in conversation. And obviously, you can't really live, you can't force yourself to try and live by the opposite of that, because then you try and make reciprocity a bad thing. But really, it's just how it's applied, how we're trained to think about it is completely wrong, inverted, if you will, and that's because that part of the mind control sits on belief number three. This is the mechanism that belief number two that makes belief number two usable day to day. The trick that lets a fiction function like it's on solid ground. When we set a price on something, anything, when we say this phone is $800, we make that price, and we make that the price for the access to the thing, and we make it stagnant. We stagnate the value. We make it temporarily stagnant. Okay? Now, prices do fluctuate. You got inflation. There's a bunch of factors in the general market. Somebody else came up with something that's twice as good, but also twice the price or something. You have launch economics, right? You can launch something and you know that for the first 3 years you're going to lose money on it, but then In the next 3 years, you're going to gain a whole ton of profit. Prices do fluctuate. I'm not talking about that. That's super slow. We are talking about this. You decide on a number, $800. You stick that on a price tag, you program the barcode, and that becomes the price of the thing. What happens is you disconnect the aliveness of the value. You disconnect it. The aliveness of the person who's going to use it, eat it, whatever, from the present moment. And you can't do that and still be dealing with something that's real. Value, suddenly, once you stagnate it, it doesn't get to be viewed case by case anymore. And any later change in price from quote unquote market response, that change can't be simultaneously accurate and immediate, right? It's just a step or two behind reality. It correcting something that was born from a snapshot that was already wrong the moment it was taken, right? A haircut is not $30. In fact, there's no real fixed personal definition of what $30 is worth to you. That depends entirely on the now, the present moment, who you are right now, what you have right now, what you need, want, like right now. Pricing takes something that is happening, alive, with an ing, right? Contingent, relational, and it freezes it into a noun. You know how they say love is a verb? It's kind of like it tries to freeze something alive into a noun. Value, as it is experienced in the human being, in the human psyche, is a verb. Okay? Price tries to convert that into a noun. And so it's $800 for everybody this season, this go round, this launch. And that creates chaos on its face. Because the whole point of a monetary system, mind you, very important, is access to resources and people. And resources is used in its most broad definition. So that includes essential resources for survival. Your food, clean water, clothing, hygiene, technology, sometimes love. Like, we have such a deep seated connection to the fictional money game from birth that it's tied to access to the things that keep us alive. Right? Not really. It's not really tied because it doesn't exist, but we're trained to think so, and we act that out. And the armed enforcement apparatus will kill you if you act otherwise, or cage you on a nice day. So that's our belief system. And the natural living experience can never actually jive with the transaction framework born from belief number 3, which leads us directly into belief number 4. Oh, I missed some comments. Perfect. Let me see what we got. Isn't isolated to the physical world. Exactly. This is a great comment. Real value is not isolated to physical world use. There is nothing of real value that is only is only based on belief, is only based on things that have to do with worldly affairs. And money is very obviously only having to do with affairs, and yet we attach this monetary value thing. And again, Now everything has a price. And that's always been the thing when a people adopt a money system, is now everything, water, whatever, everything has a price now. Okay, because everything takes labor to make into a technology. Let me see. Let me read a couple more. There are a few forms of value and currency that are intangible or unseen. Reputation is a currency for sure. A little beside the point, but yes, indeed, for sure. I'm deeply in this field. We'll stick around because belief number 4 ties it into the whole governing apparatus. So, boom. Belief number 4 is authority over the use of force is necessary for human flourishing. Okay? If you're any kind of fan of this content, first of all, you probably already knew this was coming. You knew I had to talk about the armed them people out there. You knew I had to talk about the costumed vigilantes out there. Okay? Um this is the belief that someone somewhere or a small group of people that wear the same costume and test into specific organizations. Someone somewhere has to, must, should be even holding a sanctioned right to compel their peers to follow their orders. Someone somewhere or a group of people has to have the divine standing to order around their peers. This is belief number 4, and this is the belief. Well, let me just stick to my notes for a second because I'm gonna jump ahead of myself on accident. This is where part 3 comes all the way back around because this isn't a standalone belief. It's the direct offspring from belief number 2. And the historical record shows exactly how the birth of the state, okay, the gang with discretionary authority over the use of force, comes out of the religion of monetary value. Again, the religion of monetary value works hand in hand with the religion of man's authority. All right. Oh, I guess I didn't put that on here. I thought I did. But I thought I put that on the thumbnail, so that's why I brought that back up because I was going to point you to it, but it must have been on a previous episode's thumbnail. But regardless, the mother and father of all religions, in my looking at the story, is the religion of monetary value, which gives birth to the father of all religions, the religion of man's authority. Remember them clay tablets that we were talking about earlier? The ancient ones, the ancient form of the IOU. It's crazy that we're still dealing with promises and credit 5,000 years later. But regardless, the farmer in the village, the farmer whose debt was being recorded, couldn't necessarily read it. Most of the world was illiterate, right? And we're largely illiterate today too. Just we're financially illiterate. Many of us can read the Securities Act of 1933, but we cannot understand it. Largely, most of us. Okay? So it's the same thing today. We are largely English literate, but not financially literate. So back then, the laborer, the merchant, whatever, they couldn't verify the accounting for themselves necessarily. The earliest monetary systems operated through symbols that the vast majority of the population could not read or challenge. And that acceptance was never informed consent. It was compliance. And it was compliance under conditions specifically designed to prevent examination of the system's levers and pulleys, basically. And the symbol system that nobody can verify has to be enforced physically somehow, because monetary value isn't real. It's not real in nature. So a debt system built on a fiction cannot enforce itself naturally. Obviously, there's no disputing that. There is nothing connecting the idea of monetary value or the moral weight of a disagreement over monetary value to nature itself. So, by its very nature, a system of monetary economics has to have physical enforcement created alongside the creation of whatever the form the monetary system is going to take. Because nobody is going to understand the symbol system, right? They're not going to understand how the rules got made and what the rules are to a large extent. They'll only know the basic rules of basic day-to-day use, like we know today. And that's true in every economy that ever existed. And that enforcement need is exactly what gives rise to the state. Someone has to administer the record. Someone has to decide what the symbol is worth now. Someone has to run the enforcement apparatus. Okay? And that administration and enforcement in every form that it's ever taken, from monarch to Senate to regulatory agency to central bank, is what government is. Do y'all know what the word government means? I know Nick knows. Government comes from two, I believe, Latin origins: gubernare and mens or mentis. Gubernare means to steer or control. Mens or mentis, whenever you have ment after a word, supplement, development, government, ment is the mind, mentis, the mind. So to steer or control the mind. Government is mind control. There was no letter V in ancient Latin, so that's why it's gubernare and not governare, for clarity there. But government means mind control. Okay. Remember what Dr. Graeber said, and without ambiguity, we discussed it on part 3. He stated that states create markets and markets require states. Neither could continue without the other. Market means monetary system. That's what it means, market. That you're talking about the bookkeeping and accounting of a monetary system. It's just when we hear market, we think like farmers market, Walgreens, Walmart. We think about that as far as an image. But when you say the market, you're talking about the monetary system. Okay, so I don't want to confuse that. So the state creates markets. Markets require states. Neither could continue without the other in any way that leads to what we know as monetary systems in both history and current day. The religion of monetary value is the mother that gives birth to the state, which is the religion of man's authority. Not as a partner, but as a necessary product required for the religion of monetary value to exist and be maintained. It's required. Okay, so as soon as a society adopts a monetary system, you have to have a system of mind control, which enforces the monetary value system's rules. Belief, number 4, is not a separate error sitting next to belief number 2. It is what belief number 2 has to produce once anyone tries to make it stick in the real world. And that leads us to belief number 5. Belief number 5 states The free market is the solution. But the bad guys, the government, just keeps messing it up, right? If the government stopped interfering, if bad actors would just stop their shenanigans, then the free market would work. Okay. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I know what you mean. I don't agree. And here's why. Pardon me, I have to belch. I moved to the side, but I feel like that went straight into the mic. I apologize. Anyway, it's like this, good people. It's like this. You know, when somebody says, if the people would just follow the rules, it's like, well, sure. But another way to say that is if people were just moral, if people would just do right by each other, then the system would work. Well, you know what else is true about that exact same thing? If people would just do right by each other and be moral, you wouldn't need to write the rules down. They could exist. You can decide on the rules, but it wouldn't be necessary to write them down if society at large and culture was a culture of doing right by the fellow human beings around you, by your fellow human beings. They would just follow the rules. So what somebody may say in response to that train of thought is, yeah, but when do you know, how do you know you're going to run out of stuff? How do you know when the, clean water is running out, when the oil is getting low, when, I don't know, the material for the factory that makes the thing, we're down to our last whatever that exists in the place that we were getting from in nature. Well, first of all, we already keep track of when things are getting low. Money is not the only record keeping that happens in the market, right? We record keep for everything already, and we always have. People love to do math. People love to run simulations, predict what's going to happen, and be right about it, or close to right? People love to invent. Furthermore, people love to cook. People love to share. People love to grow food, and people love to help other people participate in big projects that don't pay for the fun of it. And people do it every fucking day. Every day. There is no actual natural requirement for a transaction to ever take place. Nature will never enforce a transaction has to happen first before the project is agreed to, worked on, or completed. Right? If you and your buddies get really religious about your ability to fly with just the clothes on your back and your human abilities, and y'all jump off the bridge together with the utmost conviction what you believe, nature is still going to get you for that shit. Nature is going to say, yeah, I'm not going to play favorites with, magnetism and gravity today. You're going to fall. Right? But nature is never going to step in and say, "Oh, wait. Where was the transaction?" What are you doing things and experimenting and exploring with this gift of life that you've been given? Halt. First, do the transaction. Get it together. God damn it. That's never going to happen. But people believe that is going to happen. And to get back on track, people believe that the free market is the solution to economic freedom for all, so to speak, for all who want it. As long as you work hard and blah blah blah, with the party lines, or at least for Americans. I'll even qualify because there is some diversity as to the form and function of some monetary systems out there. Obviously, all of the biggest countries deal with basically the same thing because they all work with the World Bank, and that requires compliance to be tip top. So, but regardless, we can say for Americans, people believe that the free market is the solution to economic freedom for all of America. Good show, gotta go. Thank you for sticking around for so much. I thought you went a long time ago, and I was kind of salty. I was like, dang, I wish I spoke faster. Um, See you Wednesday, fam. Boom. So this is the belief that people fall back on once they've grown a little suspicious of centralized authority, right? Level 1 freedom seeker belief system entry. You get the free market is the real solution. And it feels like an alternative to the mainstream. It really does. It isn't, because it perpetuates the idea that monetary value is real, that reciprocity is required by nature, or uh, required in such a way that if a debt is created and a debt is not settled, then somebody has to sit in a cage or die. Right? Um, Nature doesn't say that. The reason why the basic reason why it's not an alternative to the mainstream is because it still perpetuates the other 4 beliefs that came before it. It relocates them. The sorting function filing system inside our inner storytellers relocates those other beliefs. It still assumes reciprocity is owed. It still assumes monetary value is real. It still assumes that price is a legitimate stand-in for present moment worth. And it adds a villain narrative. The bad guys. If only the corrupt actors were outed and exposed and removed, then the system built on the other false premises would definitely work as intended. you know? Uh, what happens is that the foundation itself is never properly examined. Great, and again, keep in mind how people are treated when the books are not balanced and a debt goes unpaid. Let's say it's a debt for something trivial and not something that really impacted one's ability to like feed their family or something. You can end up in a cage, right? And it could compile, and we have like these credit scores after what was the credit score in the 70s? Um, all of these, the foundation not getting examined means that all of the ways that they go about their mind control schemes are assumed as par for the course, necessary for human flourishing, real and legitimate. You know, and another quote from Graeber that I have in my notes here really hits this home. He says, "Let's treat debt um we have debt, so let us treat what are fundamentally political arrangements, like questions of who has power over whom in relation to debt, as if they were simple arithmetic, right? A neutral tally 1 2 3 4/5, a neutral tally instead of a relationship of force. The belief that the free market would work, if not for a few bad actors, makes that exact same move psychologically by turning a power question into a math question, as if the human psyche, as if the moral standing of your average person and the knowledge of how easily power corrupts people bears no weight on the conversation of whether the government and or monetary systems are legitimate in the first place. It's the same move as people justifying other historical atrocities by pointing to the stated principles of the people who committed them while ignoring that they lived in direct contradiction to those principles. A hypocrite is a hypocrite is a hypocrite. Okay, and a coward and a snake. And of course, what I meant by that last comment is people that justify the enslavement of the darker skinned people, really the enslavement of a whole bunch of people, because there was white people that were enslaved as well, between the 1500s and the 1860s here in the States, because the founding fathers had this super big brain justification for why they were going to enable it and continue it here, whilst espousing freedom for all in their writings. Disgusting. Disgusting hypocrites. Okay? Doesn't mean they're dumb, doesn't mean they're stupid, but disgusting, in my opinion. Oh, comments. We got more. Another comment from the wifey. Y'all say what's up to Tensi. Wow, love the way you broke down price being a stand-in for present moment worth. Like putting the prices like such an artificial thing that someone makes up and it creates an instant separation. Exactly. Exactamundo. So there they are, good people. 5 false core beliefs, or 5 core false beliefs produced by and needed by the religion of monetary value. But really, just one, right? One root belief branching into 4 consequential trains of thought. And here's the thing, like I said earlier, reciprocity is a good thing, okay? Just because something isn't required by nature doesn't mean it can't be a good thing. It just means it's a should and not a must, right? It's a cause, not an effect. When you reciprocate kindness, or someone reciprocates kindness to you, that's a choice made in the now. You're choosing to be kind. That's a cause. That's going to have an effect on them, right? If it's made in the now because of a false belief system that you owed them the kindness because they gave you kindness first, then that's how you frame it. But it doesn't change the fact that you still make the choice based on your beliefs. And no one can take that choice from you, not even you. So, what story are you willing to live, good people? Please let me know in the comments. Let me know if this episode clarified anything for you, just like the good people in the comment section already have. Thank you so very much for all the conversation in the live comments here today. Please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video. I heard if you like the video, there may be some free noodles at the noodle spot. All you got to do is say Soul Expression sent you when you get to the noodle spot, and they're going to be like, "Oh, did you like the video? Let me see the proof." And you show them the proof, and you get free noodles. It's the greatest thing ever. um, no, but all that aside, what story are you willing to live is the question that we always return to on this channel. Please share this video. Okay, this is important information for all freedom seekers whatsoever. I know it is not information that is accepted by all freedom seekers, but they should at least be exposed to it and be given the chance to engage with it, because these beliefs are causing, or our living by these beliefs is causing, major human suffering that is preventable. Okay? It's causing major human suffering that is preventable. And we don't have to do that. So thank you all very, very much for tuning in. I'll see y'all on Monday with the next episode. Peace and love always and always.